Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? Waco here at Watches and Wonders 2023 at the Chopard booth with the co-president and one of the men I admire most in the watch industry for his extraordinary humility and his focus on internal content and his vision, and that is Karl-Friedrich Scheufele. How are you, sir?
Thank you, Wei, for these kind words. I'm very well, thanks.
That's great. So I remember when I attended the Alpine Eagle launch with your father and your son, and I was, really just blown away by the watch and its potential. And of course, ideas started sort of to formulate in my mind. But then you said, "Wei, we have a lot of plans for this watch. Just, be calm, and they will be unveiled to you over the years."
Exactly.
And we've seen some beautiful examples of that. I mean, last year's version with the Flying Tourbillon, the Flying T, was incredible. But I have to say, this year is a phenomenal one. So we have two versions of it here. One with a version of the legendary caliber 1.96, and another with the incredible 8 Hertz movement. Could you please tell us about these two watches, sir?
Yes, well, here you find the 1.94 movement now, which means no date.
Right.
And so it's an even more pure expression of what we wanted to achieve in the beginning. So we had to redesign the case of the Alpine Eagle because it's extremely thin.
Oh, wow. Sorry, and what would be the thickness? I hear it's just over 8 mm in thickness, is that correct?
The thickness is about 8 millimeters.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. So the watch takes on a totally different and more elegant look.
Wow.
We had to redesign the bezel. The bezel is slightly slimmer.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Wow.
And obviously, we're using the lucent steel, the latest lucent steel, 80% recycled.
Right.
So this is really what I think the most elegant expression of an Alpine Eagle today.
That's amazing.
Featuring the Geneva seal, of course.
And cost certification.
And cost certification.
Wow.
Yes.
I love this. I have to say the eagle eye iris pattern, it lends itself so well to this incredible color, which is different from the
Yes.
salmon color that you've done the 1860, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I think the eagle eye pattern gives the finish yet another twist.
Wow.
As if compared to guilloché dial, for example.
Right.
So it's just stunning.
Now I've just pulled the crown out, and that's
There's only one position.
Yes.
Because meaning no date.
Right.
So obviously we took away the
Yes.
intermediate position,
Which I love, because
Yeah.
sometimes other brands,
No, I
you
mean,
would leave it in. But
Either you, that is not my
I don't like that. Yeah.
my way of doing things.
Right.
As you
I
know that.
I know. But I also love that when I pull the crown
Yes.
out, the seconds stop, which means it's a
Yes.
hacking seconds movement.
Exactly.
Which for a sports watch is precisely what you
And
want.
this is what you call evolution, because in the very beginning, the 196 movement didn't have that feature.
Yes.
And so now we introduced it.
Karl-Friedrich, you mentioned before that this watch, the bracelet and case are made of lucent steel, the 80% recycled steel. And you've also made an announcement together with a wonderful ambassador that you have now shifted to 100% recycled steel in all of your watches. Can you please tell me a little bit about the underlying motivation for this and why this is important to you from an ethical perspective?
Well, it goes back a relatively long time,
Right.
to 2010, where we were celebrating 150 years of Chopard, and we also met representatives of the WWF,
Right.
and we started the first collaboration, and they were the ones who put us on the piece, so to speak, of on the journey of sustainable luxury, which we got very passionate about as a family. And basically, another important milestone was the question we asked, where does our gold come from? So in 2013, we introduced Fairmine Gold in a limited number of jewelry pieces and L.U.C watches.
Right.
And subsequently, in 2018, ethical gold across the board for all watches and all jewelry pieces. And this year, lucent steel for all steel watches and bracelets in our production. So this is probably an important as important a milestone as the ethical goal.
Wow.
It points in another direction, if you wish. It's about carbon emission, which is reduced by 30% in our case. So it's a major step forward, I would say, and really something we care about. And I think it also makes you feel better when you buy one of these watches.
100%. You know, I love the beauty.
And yes, Julia Roberts was present when we announced this Monday.
She was great, and thank you so much for having me over for the evening when we had a dinner with her presence there, and with the amazing Gauthier Caupesson as well, who's a great guy. So let's shift subjects now from steel to titanium, because titanium is the case material for this magnificent 8 Hertz Alpine Eagle, which I know you made as a limited series before, and let's talk about the whole limited, not limited later. But then there was so much outcry that more people couldn't have the watch that you made I don't want to say regular production, but a version that is not limited, not by design, but by production, correct? Please tell us about that.
So this is the latest Alpine Eagle high frequency edition. High frequency meaning we have 8 Hertz movement in here, which I think we highlighted in another talk with you already.
Yes.
But the important thing about high frequency is there is more resistance to shock in a way when the movement is not thrown off beat by shock so quickly, or goes back to a normal beat more quick than a 4 Hertz movement. We're talking double the beats. Here we introduced what we call pitch black. Again, thinking of nature, pitch black night, pitch black movement, a dial here, and an orange hint with the second hand.
Right.
And I think that's a very cool, attractive watch.
Phenomenal.
And the weight difference is quite
significant.
Quite significant. And we introduced a security clasp, which is also new and will be subsequently introduced in all Alpine Eagles. Here you have the same thing on this watch.
Right.
So as we go, the Alpine Eagles evolve, and this is not a limited edition, but we'll be making, I don't know, 150 this year.
Okay, so
if all goes well.
I mean, that's a question I want to ask you is, you've got this, which I'm sure the demand is extremely significant for, and then you've got also this, which I'm sure the demand is extremely significant for. How are you handling the sort of delta between what you are able to produce and the number of people that want them, first of all? And second of all, how will you allocate them? Because if you only allocate watches to existing customers, it's hard to grow the audience as well. So how do you find the right balance?
We always try to accommodate, of course, collectors who have been with us, so to speak, for many years. But also, especially with Alpine Eagle, we notice that a lot of younger collectors to be, or real enthusiasts, want to purchase their first Alpine Eagle, and we always try to accommodate those as well. I think it's very important to grow the community.
Yes.
And I'm very fond, especially when the younger generation is interested in these watches.
Amazing. Well, I mean, thank you so much for sharing these 2 watches with us. So, I mean, of course, I have to ask you about this watch because, as you know very well, this is one of my favorite references of all time. It is the legendary 1860, which you created in 1997, reborn in steel, and with very different, 2 very important differences as well in terms of subtraction of the date and hacking seconds. Please tell us about that, sir.
Well, you are, by the way, partly responsible for the relaunch of this watch. Yes,
you're very kind.
I look back to the first project we did together around this watch. So
Yes.
it's something that I think we both cherish a lot.
I love it.
So here, yes, you find the same movement, the 196.4, because of the lack of the date.
Yes.
Again, we were looking at the total, a pure expression of time. So you have one position on the crown, and you have the beautifully finished Poinçon de Genève movement, cost certified, and all of that for the first time in a stainless steel,
Wow.
lucent steel
Incredible.
case.
Yes.
With a twist, the side of the case is brushed.
Right. Like the edition that we did. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the, I would say, that's the. We admit a bit of modernity here, and you know that the initial L.U.C. 1860 was all polished, and I really love this combination here. I put myself on the list for this watch, but I'm not sure when I will receive one.
Excellent. Karl-Friedrich, it's always an inspiration to be with you. Thank you so much, sir. Absolute pleasure.